So welcome back to the Raising Our Vibration podcast, where we explore higher consciousness through spiritual practice. And today, Stephen and I are going to discuss two dangerous errors of the social media age. So this is kind of a continuation of our last podcast, where we talked about Krishnamurti's message for the social media age. And we had one of our regular viewers of our videos make a comment about how Krishnamurti wasn't precise in his language. And so we thought we'd elaborate a little more on some of the themes we were talking about last time, and specifically talk about these two errors that we make in consciousness or in our thinking. And these errors aren't unique to the social media age, but they really are amplified, right, Stephen? Like they're just blown up to the highest levels, as we've seen in our politics and so on. So what are these errors? Let's start there. So number one, it's thinking that thoughts represent reality. That thoughts represent reality. And number two, then identifying who you are with your thinking. So you're identifying with your thoughts. And so we could just briefly kind of deconstruct both of those. First, by talking about the nature of thoughts. So we have this kind of unquestioned assumption, because we are so focused on thinking and living in our thoughts, that our thoughts represent reality, okay? And actually what thinking does is it constructs or organizes reality according to a certain perspective, okay? So thinking is an active process that chooses certain details and then organizes those details into a viewpoint and expresses them in language. All of that is creating a story about reality, right? It's organizing, it's choosing just certain data points out of the infinite possible data points, and then it's weaving those into a story or a framework or a way of viewing reality. Okay, so the very first thing is to realize that your thoughts, my thoughts, our thoughts do not represent reality. They organize it in a specific way according to a certain point of view. Okay, when you recognize that, you recognize that, well, there are an infinite number of possible points of view or possible thoughts on what's happening now, depending on what data points you choose and how you organize them, right? So that's one thing, seeing the provisional nature of thoughts and thinking. And then number two is to, and this is more of an experiential thing, to learn to differentiate between thoughts or the contents of consciousness and who you are as awareness. Okay, and Stephen's going to guide us in a practice in a little while where we're going to work with these distinctions and these shifts. But it's one of the first steps in spiritual practice is to learn to step back and observe your thoughts rather than being unconsciously identified with them. So that's what you see a lot on social media, and amplified to the max, is this kind of unconscious identification with thoughts and then battling between different points of view. And that fundamentally doesn't recognize the nature of thoughts or the nature of who we are as awareness. So that's kind of the second thing to see, is that neither are thoughts representative of reality, nor are they constitutive of who we are. All right. And so then you can, in meditation or in self-inquiry practice, you go from calling forth or becoming aware of kind of these unconscious thought processes that are ruling your life. They're ruling your life when you're not conscious of them, right? So you direct attention toward that which has been subconscious. You step back and observe it from a distance, so you get some separation from it rather than identifying with it. And then you learn in that process to consciously focus your attention on specific thoughts. And because of their efficacy in what you want to do, like there's constructive thoughts, right? There's thoughts that can kind of take you away and cause you to doubt or fear, and you learn to have some skill with how you focus on your thoughts. And then in meditation, we use this focused attention to allow ourselves to really become absorbed in a focal object and understand that process, but consciously. It's one thing to be unconsciously identified with a focal object. It's a whole nother thing to be consciously absorbed in a focal object, like a flow state, right? When you're consciously absorbed in an activity that you're doing, okay? And then the next step beyond that is to be aware of being aware of that object, of being absorbed. So you take a step wider and you're aware of being aware of that. And then step back or rest back farther, to use the spatial metaphor, into resting as awareness itself. So this is a process, and Stephen will guide us through this process in a moment, by which you can become really more conscious, more aware of this process of thinking, of this process of focusing attention, become more flexible in your thinking, more flexible in your attention, more skilled in using your attention, and then use any focal object, whether it's a thought, a feeling, any experience, to become aware of awareness itself, within which all of this arises. So one more point on this introduction, to just clearly define what we mean by attention and what we mean by awareness, okay? So you can think of attention as an arrow which is directed toward an object. So I'm focusing on this screen in front of me. I'm talking to you through this screen. I'm focused on it. There's an arrow of attention forward here onto this screen. And then, so that's attention. It's like an arrow. And then awareness is that which knows where attention is being focused, that which is doing the focusing, and that within which this whole process of attention and experiencing happens. Okay, so awareness is that which knows where attention is focused, that which is actually doing the focusing, and that within which this whole process and all our experiences arise. So hopefully that's a clear and clearly defined terms and clearly defined path. And now, Stephen, I'm going to pass it over to you to guide us in an experiential practice to really understand this in beyond language, right? Because awareness is beyond language. It's that within which language and thoughts and thinking and experiences arise. So Stephen, all yours.
Beautiful, Kevin, and such a beautiful explanation too. So yeah, it truly is beyond language. I think in many times language diminishes what actually is. And so that's what we're speaking to here, is that we can also have experience that is beyond language and actually takes us beyond concept. And you'll hear us a lot of the time speaking about non-dual or beyond concept experience. And so part of this non-concept experience is relating to, we've got to understand what concept is, and we also have to then come to terms with what that is and when it occurs. And that's what many of you might understand as an intellectual understanding. So when Kevin's speaking, you've got an intellectual understanding of what he's saying. And if, for example, you hear a term like emptiness, for example, and somebody explains it, then you might think, oh, okay, I've got it. But that mental idea is really just an understanding. It's not direct experience. And then when you come to a teaching or come to some guidance from some path and somebody gives you a direct experience of it, you then at that point have a glimpse. Now, it's like a taste. Sometimes we think, aha, I've got it. at which case you've actually had a glimpse and you've had a brief experience. So then the key is to be able to train in this. And that's what we do in raising our vibration again, 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 is train you in repeatedly recognizing the true nature of what is, the nature of your mind, or the nature of your heart, or in this case, the nature of our thoughts. And by recognizing awareness itself, we keep bringing you back to, okay, no matter what, recognize that awareness is always present in simple terms. So I'm phrasing that in very, very simple language, because as Kevin was saying, sometimes language diminishes it or takes away from it. And it's lovely just to actually go straight to the heart of it through a practice. So I'm going to give you a really simple experience. And I want you just to consider for a moment thoughts. And that is that this metaphor of thoughts being like clouds, and that the clouds are going to naturally disperse over time. That no matter what thought I ask you to take, at some point, they're going to evaporate, and there'll be just the sky. So in a sense, that's what we're moving towards, is a direct experience of the sky and not of the clouds. But sometimes through our lives, we're taught in just about every way that our thoughts are what counts.
Right. And if you're in that, it's like being in a cloud, right? Right. When you're unconsciously identified with thoughts, it's like being cloudy. Your mind is clouded by the thought, and you think that's reality.
Totally. Exactly. So what you think, because you've been guided into thinking that your whole being, your thoughts, your past, your future, your identity, that all of that makes up who you are. And at some point, you're going to recognize that that's not who you are. But to get to that point is exactly what Kevin's been explaining, is that we do that actually through a process of knowing our thoughts. It's almost like we've got to know attention to go beyond attention. And equally, we've got to know thoughts to go beyond thoughts. And that's the value, the really deep value of these practices as we're sharing them. So I want to go back to that. And that is the possibility that every experience that you have now could be actually viewed as an expression of pure awareness. Right. So just consider that for a moment, that everything, every experience, even our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, that every experience that we have could be pure awareness. And I'm going to guide you to that point. So I want you to get comfortable first. So you can do this eyes open or eyes closed. And I want you to find a posture that is relaxed and alert. Now, obviously, if you're driving, you might want to pull over. And if you're doing something very busy and you'd like to come back to this later, that's good too. So just do whatever you need to do just to truly surrender. And sometimes, as Kevin and I often guide into a really simple state of relaxation, we ask you to feel down into your feet and feel your feet planted on the floor. And just feel that gentle grounding presence in your feet. Just the fact that they're on the floor. That's simple. Just feel into your feet. And then you feel into your hands resting in your lap and the space in your hands. Your hands are such a good cue to feel into this spacious awareness. And then sitting up straight, there's a sense of clarity. When you just if you just try that now, if you slightly adjust your posture, so you're just sitting straighter. There's something about posture. When our bodies sit straighter, we feel that fraction more clarity. So that's all. You're very aware of the presence and groundedness in your feet right now. You're aware of the spaciousness in your hands and aware of this clarity in your spine. So as Kevin said, we're going to look at these subtle shifts from unconscious identification to observation, to focus concentration, to conscious absorption, to being aware of aware, and then resting as awareness itself. So let's look at this really practically, directly, experientially. To begin with, I just want you to rest. You don't need to make any effort at this point, just rest. Just notice what it's like to relax, to open your heart, to be open to all the blessings of your life with a lot of gratitude. Just notice what it's like to feel into that presence and just drop effort, any judgments, anything that you've got around this practice at the moment or about life or what's happening. Just drop it all. Just give yourself permission to just simply rest naturally. So you don't need to meditate. I'm not teaching you a meditation technique here. You're just actually simply resting, like you might do in a beautiful summer's day and out in nature. You just simply, great, right? Relaxation is really key to being aware. You're just resting. And first, I want you to bring just some normal thoughts up. So I'm going to tap into your unconscious identification with thoughts. So I'm going to say some words, and they're going to trigger perhaps some unconscious connections. Okay, first, a teacher. Just a teacher you used to like. Maybe at school. Maybe a spiritual teacher. Anything's okay. Just notice what comes into your mind. And this is I'm just letting things flow, like in a sense of the way you might unconsciously identify with something. Now, a favorite food. Now, somebody you love or a pet you love. Now, a sticky problem you've had during the week, maybe at work, maybe with a partner. Something a bit of discomfort. Now, a habit, like brushing your teeth. Now, an orange you eat, just an orange. Okay, and then just drop that unconscious identification with thoughts and just rest back. Again, just rest naturally. I'm going to bring you back to resting as we go deeper. Quite often, you're just resting. So there was a whole variety of unconscious thoughts you might identify with normally that I use trigger words for, just came up. All okay. Now I want you to let a normal thought come up, something just that's maybe preoccupying yourself at the moment, or maybe you've just been thinking about recently. This could be something you've been wondering, okay, how do I deal with my finances? Or I'm trying to find my way through this relationship, or something to do with a job, or maybe a spiritual principle you've been working with. Anything. Just let something pretty normal come up. And I want you just to simply observe it. Right? When the thought comes up, just notice it. Kind of a bit like a friend that you just notice it. When a friend comes, we often notice their clothes or how they speak or whether they're feeling up or down today. So just observe your thought. So I've just been on a holiday with my family for a day, and I'm just feeling into that. So there's a nice feeling around it, right? It's just easy. So you're just observing. Okay, I can observe that. It's a bit like observing a scene or kind of a movie. You're just observing. Okay, and then just drop that and rest again. The resting is important. You're starting to notice the difference here between an unconscious thought that just came up suddenly, and then this time when we observed it, we took a specific thought, we did some simple observation, just noticing it was there. Now I want you to bring up a thought of your favorite food. And particularly, I want you to focus on it, deliberately focus and feel the energy of your focus on this food. Notice what it's like to focus on a thought of your favorite food. When you focus, what are you focusing on? So for me, I'm focusing on blueberries. I can smell them, right? And now I can taste them in my mouth. Just notice how focus evolves for you. Do you more notice the color of it? So I can see them clearly. But I notice the smell and the taste comes up very strongly. What happens for you? Right? There's no right or wrong. You're just noticing focus and feeling the energy of your focus. What is it like to be you and have focused concentration on a thought? Notice what it's like to focus on a thought for a few moments. I want you to really focus. I want you to really hold it here and focus and notice, explore it a bit. And go a bit deeper now and really consciously absorb in that focused thought. So I'm right here now on that blueberry. I've got a single blueberry and I'm really focusing. Now I notice when I consciously absorb, I tend to, it goes through vision for me. I can see it so clearly. You might feel it, you might taste it, whatever it is, whatever sense you're consciously absorbed on now, really consciously, deeply absorb into that. And you might find it shifts. Just work with it. Just notice what it's like to consciously absorb on a thought.
So, Stephen, I find myself naturally chewing that food and tasting it and feeling the texture of it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And just like Kevin, those of you listening might find, you might see it, you might taste it, you might smell it, something might happen to it. As you absorb deeper and deeper, you might find different felt sensations arise, even ones that you haven't consciously absorbed into perhaps ever in this way. And now you're doing it, you're deeply consciously. So Kevin's consciously absorbing into the chewing of it. So it's really interesting, the different perspectives and ways we absorb. So mine's still seeing, and my seeing brightens it. So there's a very curious unfolding of that absorption for each and every one of us. Just be curious about it. Notice what happens as you absorb deeper into the sense or the feeling or the sense of sight or hearing. Some people hear it, some people feel it, some people taste it.
So I also notice that everything else drops away.
Right. So this is this power of focus, concentration into conscious absorption. So this is a really important step towards awareness of awareness itself, because the dropping away means that you're using the focus concentration into conscious absorption, to let go of thought, any extraneous thought, any other distractions. There's just the object. And you're absorbed into that. It's a bit like in many of the traditions they talk about in the Mida, the focus here is like a sign. When everything drops away, that's a wonderful sign that you're really deeply, consciously absorbed. So now I want you to drop that conscious absorption. Just simply drop it and just rest. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. No meditation you need to have, no absorption you need to be doing. If there's any shred of effort, just drop it. Just simply be here. Okay, now we're going to go into being aware and then being aware of being aware. Now, sometimes when you hear those words, your mind might get all kind of messages or, oh, I understand that, or I don't understand that, or I've done this before, I never have. So we're going to approach this very simply, especially if this is your first time to feel into that. I want you right now just to be aware of a sound in your environment. That's all. Just be aware of any sound. Just bring awareness to a sound in your environment or to what you hear. Just notice what sounds are present. Notice the sounds. Don't focus on them. View them simply as vibrations on the surface of pure awareness. So you're just being this open, expansive awareness and allowing the experience of these sounds to arise. So, for example, I'm aware of the air conditioning. I'm aware of Kevin. I'm aware of my wife working in the other room. So it's okay if your attention shifts. Just simply bring awareness to whatever's present. Just allow the experience of the sounds to happen within the field of awareness itself. It's quite simple. You're just aware. So as I said, if attention shifts, that's okay. What you're doing is you're resting as awareness and just being aware of all these sounds happening simultaneously. So you're not focusing on sounds. You're not directing any attention to any particular sound. Just simply noticing and being this open expanse of awareness within which the sounds arise. So I'm just resting back. It's so easy in that sense. It's effortless. So you don't have to try to focus on particular sounds. You're just resting as awareness and allowing sounds to arise. Now I'm doing this for a particular reason, because we're now going to drop that awareness of sounds, and now you're going to notice what's in your mind and just be aware of any thoughts that are present in exactly the same way as the sounds. Just like you did bringing awareness to sounds, now bring awareness to thoughts. You don't have to grab onto them, nor do you push them away if you don't like them. You're just letting the thoughts arise. So I've got a thought. I can allow these thoughts to arise quite easily. I've got a thought of my daughter still asleep. My wife's working. There's just these thoughts I'm guiding. I'm just allowing them to arise. They're like waves on the surface of pure awareness. And I'm just simply aware. I'm this open expanse of awareness, allowing thoughts to easily, effortlessly arise. A little bit like clouds, like we spoke about. And again, I'm aware. I'm just aware of thought. Now I want you to switch back to the sounds. So as I said, there was a reason why I brought sounds in. Now you're switching to awareness of sound. So again, I'm aware of my wife working, the air conditioner. I'm aware of some cars in my environment. And then switch back to awareness of thoughts. I'm aware of the thought of the environment here. I've got a very open window to a clear blue sky. I'm just aware. I can let those arise quite easily. Notice this one thing, awareness. Be aware of that awareness, that one thing, awareness that's here. You can try it again if you want that clarity. Shift to being aware of sounds in your environment. It's like choiceless. You're just allowing sounds to be present and simply being aware. It's quite a relief. Just rest back and be open to whatever sounds are present. And then shift into being aware of the thoughts. It's all awareness. It's just awareness. Whether you're aware of sounds or thoughts, it's just awareness. So now be aware of awareness itself. Oh. Whether I'm aware of sounds or thoughts, I can be aware of body sensation. I'm aware of awareness. I'm aware of sounds in my environment. I'm aware of thoughts arising. I'm aware of body sensations. I'm even aware of what I see behind my eyes. And if your eyes are open, I'm aware of seeing. For what arises in the field of vision, whether your eyes are closed or open. And again, I'm aware of thoughts. It's just this one thing, awareness. Be aware of awareness. Now, finally, we're going to be aware of this resting as awareness. We're going to practice it. This is part of these nature of mind practices, these resting as awareness. For this last practice, just notice what's happening in your mind. Whatever arises. You're not paying attention to thoughts or impressions as objects. You're just allowing yourself to be this vast field of awareness. This one thing, this field of awareness itself. This knowing of awareness that you are, within which all these experiences, sounds and body sensations, thoughts, seeing, senses, chewing, tasting, all these experiences are happening. Now just stay connected to awareness. So you're resting back. Here's this resting back as awareness as thoughts arise. It's really quite a wonderful opening or allowing that occurs. The thoughts just arise like waves on the surface of an ocean. And they abide for a little while and then dissolve back into awareness. And it's just awareness. You're aware the very moment the thoughts arise. You're aware of the abiding, however long that happens. Time is not of the essence here. There's a sense of timelessness to all of this. You're aware of the dissolution. There's nothing you need to do to make this happen, to stay connected. You are awareness. This is awareness itself. You're resting as awareness. It's already happening. All you need to do here is recognize that awareness and rest. Just simply recognize awareness and rest as that. Simply recognize and rest. Now, if your eyes are closed, you can very gently, slowly open them. And as you open them, you take in everything around you, within you, with appreciation. It's very gentle. There's a sense of awe, love, freshness to every moment. And you're just relaxing, resting as awareness, resting in awareness and allowing all experience to come and go, to happen without judgment. Just being this open, allowing everything to happen as you rest as awareness. Notice how everything happens within this pure, infinite awareness. You're that, resting as open, infinite, and unbound. Infinite simply because you're allowing everything to arise unimpeded and unobstructed. And then every moment becomes unbound. Every moment is a simple flow of natural, effortless knowing. Just open, resting as awareness. So Kevin and everybody listening, thank you for your limitless and boundless presence.
Thank you, Stephen, for that beautiful practice. And I notice, first of all, that there weren't thoughts anymore, but anything that did arise had no stickiness or substantiality or grippiness to it, no charge, right? So as I'm speaking as that awareness, if I'm living from that, expressing from that, there's a whole different quality to the expression, to the interaction, and it's free and flowing and vast and open. At the same time, there's a real presence and a real awareness of what is arising, and there's a real clarity. And that's what Krishnamurti was referring to, right? That just unfiltered perception, that clarity in which there's wisdom and insight and discernment and peace and compassion. So thank you, Stephen, for that
Thank you, Kevin.
beautiful practice and discussion. And thank you all for watching, for listening, for practicing along with us. And if you're interested in practices like these, awareness practices, meditation practices, please visit us at raisingourvibration.net. And we'd love to hear from you there. So bye for now.